Welcome back. Local community organizations have been essential by providing support, services, and more throughout the pandemic. We Stay Nos Quedamos is one of those community organizations here in the Bronx, and they're seeking to keep connected with the community through an open house centered on healing in a community garden. Joining us now to share more is Carmen De Jesus, community organizer at We Stay Nos Quedamos. Welcome, Carmen. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, for those who are not familiar, can you tell us about We Stay Nos Quedamos and your mission?
Yeah, gladly. So, We Stay Nos Quedamos is a nonprofit organization who is and has always been dedicated to community resiliency and self determination in the South Bronx through community ownership. We also provide social services to help people obtain housing for Housing Connect. And we also have community engagement projects focused on resiliency, civic engagement, youth leadership development, and that's just to name a few.
Thank you so much for that, Carmen. And I know that We Stay Nos Quedamos has been here for the community throughout this tumultuous year, throughout the pandemic. Can you share how the organizations has helped support the Melrose community through COVID-19?
Yeah, sure. So I think the biggest thing when the pandemic hit was we did a survey in one of our buildings just to get a feel of what were some of the issues that they felt were most prevalent. And the biggest thing that came about was food insecurity. So from there, we started doing hot meals and then we transitioned to doing food distribution, which we now have once a week every Wednesday.
Can you also share more about your role as a community organizer and what that entails?
So, as a community organizer, my biggest role is really just establishing and maintaining relationships within the community. So, in terms of those community engagement projects that I mentioned earlier, one of the biggest things would be connecting the community to those different opportunities.
Right. And one of those ways that you're doing that is through an open house that's coming up. Can you share more about your first session, We Stay Nos Quedamos to Heal?
Yes. So the whole reason why we have this first session is really two reasons. The first is so that the community can get to know who We Stay Nos Quedamos is and what we stand for and the work that we've been doing in the South Bronx, as well as just creating a space for the community to come together, right? COVID-19 was no joke. It amplified a lot of issues. And even till now, we're still struggling. We still are dealing with COVID. So it's really a space for the community to come together as well and work on healing, feeling those feelings together and moving forward.
And we shared that flyer on screen. It'll be taking place on Thursday, August 27th between 5 to 7 at Brook Park Garden. Correct, Carmen?
August 26th, but everything else is
August 26th. Got you. So, what should participants be prepared to learn and do during these open house sessions?
I think the biggest thing is really just being ready to learn, listen, and to receive. We want participants coming in to have an open mind and learning who Nos Quedamos is, not just as an organization, but also as members of the community. Also, being able to listen to other stories of those that have been amplified due to COVID and the different struggles that other community members are going through, and also receiving that feeling of togetherness as a community and coming together as one.
Mm. And in saying that, why was it important to center healing in this first open house and, of course, host it at a community garden?
I think the main reason why we decided on healing first is because in a community like ours, right, we have all these different struggles going on, and our main mode is just survival. But with that, sometimes we need to take a step back and really feel those feelings of sadness, anger, frustration, and focus on healing because we can't move forward unless we acknowledge how we're feeling in the moment. And I think that ties into the reason why we picked a community garden. When you're in nature, you feel more free and more vulnerable, and it's definitely more of a grounding experience when dealing with heavy emotions like that.
Right. And let's get into what some of those meditations can look like for people. Often, like you said, we don't have time to heal. There's so many essential workers in the community, so many people, just trying to just get by during this past year. What are some of those grounding, healing experiences that people can expect to witness here at the open house?
Yeah, so I think it's not going to be anything super intense just because, I'll say myself, I'm not an expert in leading those really intensive healing exercises, but it's really going to be more focused on like deep breathing, right? When you're in survival mode, sometimes it feels like you're holding your breath and you're not really in the moment within yourself. So a lot of that healing component is really going to be focused on breathing, in and out very slowly, and even some light stretches because sometimes the stress is held within your body physically.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. I also know that We Stay Nos Quedamos, of course, we've partnered through BronxNet for the People's Candidate Forum and so many other civic engagement events and
Mhm.
programs. Can you share more about the importance of keeping the community connected through civic engagement as well with an upcoming election in November?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing a lot is civic engagement is really always portrayed as like, oh, you just have to vote, you just have to vote. But I think it loses the focus of why it matters to vote, right? The reason why you're making sure your vote is counted and your voice is heard is because there were issues that you want to see changes to. And the community is the one that really holds the power in making sure that that's really seen through for our elected officials.
Right. An event that I kind of want to highlight that I had, the pleasure and honor of working with together with Nos Quedamos, was the one at Yolanda Garcia Park. When it came to ranked choice voting, what were some of the things that you were hearing from the community in Melrose about just, election season in general and just that engagement that they received during that event?
I think a lot of the feedback that we really got was the community feeling like their voice didn't matter. It didn't matter if they went out and actually voted, because at the end of the day, none of the issues that they voiced was ever going to be handled or dealt with, or a really community first kind of perspective. And I think that's why we had that event. It was really to change the narrative and to really empower folks like, look, that's not how it should be. That may have been how it has been, but that's not where it should be. The whole focus is that the community is the one in power and we need our voices heard, and that's just the end of that.
Agreed. And going back to the open house event, what do you hope that the community takes away the most from attending these events? I know there are 3 sessions, right, Carmen?
Yes, as of right now, we do have 3 sessions with the hope that there's going to be more. And I think the biggest takeaway is just coming together as a community. COVID has really, if anything, besides amplifying all the other issues that our community faces, I think it has kind of brought people apart in a sense, right? We were stuck in lockdown, not really seeing anyone. So I think the biggest thing is just feeling that togetherness, because the South Bronx has gone through a lot and it's still going through a lot. And the only way we can really overcome those challenges is being together as one.
Mm. Currently, do you have any events or, support or any type of resources that you can share with the community? I know that you have a food distribution event as well every Wednesday morning, I believe it is. Can you share more?
Yes. That event, however, is only for one specific building, so I wouldn't necessarily say that that is open for the whole community. But again, those community engagement opportunities that we have are different ways that the community can actually get involved in areas of like youth leadership, resiliency, or civic engagement, like we just talked about.
Right. I want to learn more about how you got started in Nos Quedamos, Carmen. How did you start in community organizing? How did you, receive this position? What has Nos Quedamos taught you as a Bronxite?
I think it's kind of funny because I never pictured myself as a community organizer. Like, I always knew that I had this love for nonprofit and really being a part of the change in my community. But my understanding was, in order to do that, I had to be at like United Nations, that higher level type of government area. And so when I got into NQ, it was through an internship through SYEP. And the first day they were like, what do you want to get out of it? And I was like, I want to learn more about nonprofits, especially this one. And ever since then, they were throwing me into different works and projects that they were doing. They would have me attend different meetings to learn more about their mission and vision. And it was really inspiring. And then through keeping contact, they offered me this position, which I've really been learning that if you want to make a change in your community, you don't have to wait for those outside resources to come in, but you can actually be a part of the change, especially as a youth. A lot of it, that mentality is like, get out, go somewhere else. You kind of just leave your community, but you can make your community the way you see fit.
I hear that. And I can definitely say the same about the opportunity I've gotten at BronxNet and as well as Nos Quedamos. The work that we've been doing together has been incredible and really inspiring for a lot of Bronxites and myself as well. There's so much power that we have. And I think that, unlocking that comes in, events like this, like an open house that can teach you what that power can look like and how we can manifest it together. So
Mhm.
without further ado, how can people learn more about NQ? Any websites, any social media pages?
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. So I would say the biggest way to learn more about NQ is checking out our website, www.nosquedamos.org. And there you can actually subscribe to our newsletter where you'll be kept in the loop about events that we're hosting, different projects that you can be a part of, and much more.
And Carmen, of course, please invite our viewers to attend NQ's open house, the first session taking place very soon.
Yes, I would love to see so many faces join us for our open house, again, which is Thursday, August 26th at 5 p.m. at Friends of Brook Park Garden.
And that's at 494 East 141st Street here in the Bronx. I'll be there, so I hope to see everyone there and connect and heal with the community at a beautiful community garden in our neighborhood. Before we go, Carmen, just a message for the community on how nonprofits and orgs such as Nos Quedamos continue to be here for us, and what we can do moving forward to just foster that relationship together.
I think the biggest thing is knowing that even though we are a nonprofit, we're still members of the community just like yourselves. We're no different. And I think together, it's really how we can be a part of that change that we want to see.
Yes. Thank you, Carmen, for your time today and for sharing more about NQ's open house.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Carmen De Jesús is the community organizer at We Stay Nos Quedamos. Again, you can join Carmen and Nos Quedamos at their We Stay Nos Quedamos to Heal event taking place on Thursday, August 26th at 5 p.m. at Brook Park Garden. So that's all for our show today. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time here on Open PSR.